I've created my workbook here, commissions, and down below I've got a listing of all my employees by their IDs, or let's say their social security numbers. And to the right of each employee ID, I've got their sales for the months of January, February, March, and April. And what I want to be able to do is I want to create a simpler basic formula that's going to add up all the employees' sales for each month, the month of January, February, March, and April. And you can see down below I've got my row label for this row here. I call it my row label because if I delete that and somebody opens up this workbook and I've got a bunch of numbers here, they're going to be asking themselves, what are these numbers for? Let me go ahead and hit undo. But if I got my label for this row, they can go ahead and say, oh, this number and that number and that number looks like are the month totals. For what months? We'll go ahead and look at the label for the columns. This January is the label for this column, that label for this one, March and April. So with a little cross-referencing, if you're new to my workbook, you should be able to figure it out by going, let's see, these are the totals for which months. Let me look up here for the labels, January, February, March, and April. So what I want to do here is I want to enter in a basic or simple formula. When I talk about basic formula, I'm talking about simple arithmetic like addition or subtraction. You can also do multiplication and division. But here I want to be able to add up all the sales for each employee within the month of January to get my total cell number for the month of January. And so I'm going to go ahead and add this cell, C7, plus C8 plus C9, just like it sounds. And so all I need to do is go ahead and select the cell, and the very first key on the keyboard that you want to hit before you start entering in your formula, C7 plus C8, is the equals key on the keyboard. That tells Excel anything that comes after the equals symbol here, we want Excel to go ahead and calculate those cells. In this case, do some addition. What cells? Well, the first cell here that we want to enter in our formula is going to be C, and it's row 7, so C7. Type in C7. And it does two things. First of all, it outlines the cell that you just entered in down below and it color coordinates it. But know that if I just stop here, it's going to equal cell C7. Well, what's in C7? The number 110.25. We don't want it to just equal C7. We want it to equal C7 plus, so we go ahead and plus key, plus the next cell down below. Or same column, C, but the row below, which is 8. So we'll type in C8. It outlines the cell that I just typed in, but in a different color. That way, I can visually see the difference between the two, and I can see that I'm going from top to bottom instead of, well, over in the next column, D, instead of from left to right. So if I go ahead and hit the backspace key and type in D, and you'll notice that when you type in letters, you get a drop-down list here. We're going to ignore that for now. Basically, they're functions, and we're not covering functions yet. We'll cover functions in a later training video, so just keep on typing. So if I type in D5, notice, well, visually I can look up here and going, whoa, wait a second, I missed something. I should be in the cell below C7, so, oh, D5, I wasn't paying attention. Well, you can do one of two things. You can either hit the backspace key and correct it, as I just showed you, or you can come up here and use your mouse, hover over the border of the cell that's highlighted, and you'll be able to move the cell. Make sure you've got the four-way arrow. You don't want to be in the center, the white cross, you want the four-way arrow. So just hover over any border here and then click and drag that cell, hold your left mouse button down and move it till it goes over the cell that you want it to be in, which is C8, and let go. And it updates down below. Cool. So let's go ahead and continue. Plus, what's the next cell? C9 plus C10. And when I'm finished, just go ahead and hit enter on the keyboard and there's the total. Now, how do I know that that's the total? Well, you can pull out your calculator and add it up, or if you want to make sure that you've got the range correct, go ahead and use your mouse and select the range of cells that you just added up. And we know how to select the range of cells. Just go ahead and make sure you got the white cross, click on the first one and drag down. We selected the range. And if you look down here at the bottom of the window frame for the Excel program, the status bar, go over to the right here and you can see that the sum, let me move out of the way, is 741.49. Well, they check out. So in other words, I can use this sometimes, the status bar, if I'm adding up a range of cells to make sure that when I added them up, I didn't add another cell in another range that I didn't mean to have as part of my formula here. So if I come back and I select this cell, you can see up in the formula bar, you can also check here, let's see, C7, C8, or better yet, click up in the formula bar, and it automatically selects the cells that you have or that you typed within the formula here. And it's got each cell selected, so it's covering all the cells that I want to be added into that formula. And if I need to make any changes, like I said, you can either come down here within the cell, but it gets kind of hard because you've only got so much room, so I prefer the formula bar where I can see the complete formula, and then go ahead and you can delete and get rid of the last cell here, so I'm just getting the totals for the first 3 employees, and then hit enter. But that's not right, so I'll go ahead and hit undo, and it'll undo my delete there. Okay, how about February? Let's go ahead and click in there. Now there's another way, you may call it a shortcut, to be able to go ahead and add up the range of cells here. Instead of clicking in the cell and typing in equals, it would be D7 plus D8 and so on. Go ahead and click in the cell, type in equals, and then use your mouse. Come up here and click on the cell. Hit the plus key on the keyboard because we need to add up the other cells. Click in the next cell, plus, click, plus, click. When we're done, hit enter. It adds up the range. How do you know? Well, again, select the range, and you can look down here on the status bar. It matches, or click in the cell that has the formula, come up in the formula bar to verify that each cell within that range has been included in the formula, either visually by looking at the name of each cell, or coming down here making sure that each cell is selected one on top of another within the range. And you can hit the escape key on the keyboard to get out of that. Now there are 2 more shortcuts I want to show you that you may find helpful. After you get your first formula in, like for example this was our first formula, we typed it in, instead of retyping it in the next cell or using the mouse to click and then hit the plus key, click, hit the plus key, once you got the first formula in, you can easily use 1 or 2 shortcuts to go ahead and add that formula over into the next, 2 cells here quickly. One way is to copy and paste the formula. It's that simple. Go ahead and select the cell that has the formula that you would like and then copy it. Come up here on the Home tab in the clipboard group, click on the copy button. When you hit copy, we'll cover this in a later training video, how to move, copy, and cut your data. But for here, when you click copy, you get a bunch of they look like small black, I call them marching ants. It looks like they're marching around the cell. This is to let you know that that cell is prepared to have its data copied. So all you have to do is click in another cell that you want to paste it in, and I can look back and say, okay, that's the cell I'm copying by the marching ants that are walking around it. So to paste it, come up here, the Home tab, clipboard group, and click on the paste button. When you click on it, what does it paste? Does it paste the actual number here or the formula? Well, it's got a different number, so it's not copying the number here, the value, 741, and pasting 741. Let's see if it copied the formula. You got the cell selected, look up in the formula bar. It actually copied the formula. Not exactly, because you'll notice that this column here is column C. This column here is column E. So it didn't copy it exactly. You can see up here, it didn't copy the C's over, but it copied the rows. Remember, we got rows 7, 8, 9, and 10. There's 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it copied the rows over exactly, but not the columns. Once Excel understands that you've got a clean database here and we're going from left to right, it tries to figure out, due to its programming, that, hey, if you're going from left to right, how about if I go ahead when you copy and paste the formula, update the column, instead of staying in column C, I update it to the column that you're pasting it to, which is column E. And I'll go ahead and I'll keep the rows the same, which is nice because I don't want the rows down here. I want 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's a fancy shortcut. Now this really depends upon your database and how you have it organized. If you have January listed down here, you've got numbers for January all over the place, Excel's going to go, there's no logic to this database. I have no idea how to help this person out. But when it's tight, close together, and organized from left to right, top to bottom here, then Excel will be able to help you out and you can use some of their features here. So now that I've done that, these marching ants are annoying me, you can hit the escape key on the keyboard and it gets rid of them. So that's one shortcut, copying and pasting your formula. The next shortcut that I'm about to show you is basically like copying and pasting, but a little bit faster. For example, if I hover over this cell and I want to be able to copy it and paste it over in April, instead of selecting it, hitting copy and then pasting, you can just hover over the lower right hand corner of the cell, that little black dot, and notice that my white cross, when I hover over the black dot, changes to a black cross. That's called the AutoFill handle. I've got a training video on that. But if you click and hold that black cross down and move it to the right and you let go, Hey, that's actually another way to copy the formula over. So does it check out? Well, let's click in the cell and see. So when you click in the cell, look up in the formula bar. Did it copy over the column? No. When you copy and paste, Excel automatically shifts the formula from the column E, and in this case you pasted in the column F, or you auto-filled it to column F, so it updated the column F. And the only thing that it kept the same were the rows, again rows 7 through 10. So you can copy and paste your formula, or you can click and drag the black cross, the autofill handle, and automatically copy and paste that formula to the next cell. Let's go ahead and do another simple formula. Instead of addition, this time let's do some division. In other words, I want to be able to get the averages for my months, or within each month I want the average sale for the month of January to be displayed down here, then February, March, and April. So to do that, to calculate my average, first of all I need the total for the month, and there it is right there. And then I need to divide that by the total number of sales within the month for each salesperson who made a sale. And of course, since I only have salesperson who made sales, the total number of sales are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So take the total number here, divide it by 4, and that should give me my average sale for the month of January. If I just eyeball it, the minimum sale was 110, the maximum was, well, 220, so I'm thinking about 195 or 190. Let's go ahead and enter in our formula here. So click in the cell, hit the equals key on the keyboard, and then go ahead and select the cell that has the total amount, which is right there. So it's going to equal C12, and what's in C12? Well, the total amount for the sales in January, and then we want to divide it. Now the symbol for division is the / on the keyboard. You can either find that on your keypad on the right side of your keyboard, or you can look on the main keyboard. It's the key that has the question mark on it. The question mark's on top, the / is down the bottom. Go ahead and hit the / If you want the question mark, hold down the shift key, but we don't want that. So hit the / and then go ahead and hit the number 4, because you want to take the total, divide it by 4, hit enter, and there's our average. How do I know that that's right, the formula's right? Well, if you're not sure, you can come up here and select the range, come down here on the status bar, and Excel's going to tell you that the average of the cells you have selected is 185. It matches 185 here. Looks good. Now that's nice, but let's go ahead and do it another way. I'm going to click in this cell. Let's say that I don't have my total here. I need to get my total first, and then go ahead and divide it by the total number of cells within that month. I can do it the long way, hit the equals key on the keyboard, and then I can come up here and say, okay, it's this cell plus that one plus that one plus that one, and then I need to divide all that by 4. But the problem that I run into is if I go ahead and I just start typing in each cell or clicking on each cell, and then at the end I put a /4, to divide by 4, Excel's going to look at that and go, okay, what do I do first? Do I add up these 2 cells first and then divide it by 4? Or do I take the last cell and divide it by 4? If you remember back in your algebra days, they have what's called the order of operation. In other words, the first thing you want to do, or tell Excel, is to add all these cells up to get a total and then divide it by 4. And if you haven't taken algebra, well, here we go. The order of operation, the first order that we want Excel to do is to add up those cells. We can define that by taking that formula, by adding up all these cells in parentheses, or putting them within the set of parentheses. So we go ahead and we type in equals, shift and have the open set of parentheses, and then go ahead and click on the first cell, plus the second, plus the third, and then the fourth. When we're done, and we say, okay, those are all the cells we want added up, go ahead and close your parentheses. So shift and hit the close parentheses on the keyboard, and this is going to tell Excel to always do what's in the parentheses first, or the first order of operation. And then, when it's done looking inside the parentheses, it's going to say, okay, what's on the outside? What do I do next? On the outside of the parentheses, we're going to have the / to divide the total by 4. And then when you're done, hit enter and click in the cell, and it's 191. You can go ahead and select the range. It's 191 down here, so we got the formula right. It matches what Excel sees. So see if that makes sense. Come up here in the formula bar, and what we're doing is we're telling Excel anything within the parentheses, look at first. Go ahead and perform the calculations first. Then look on the outside and divide it by 4, and that way we don't get some bogus number. So if I go ahead and remove the parentheses, come up here and hit the backspace key, and then come over here and hit the backspace key, I delete the parentheses and hit enter. Wow, that's not the average, is it? Like I said, without defining it, with the open and close parentheses to perform this calculation first, you're going to get some erroneous numbers. And then hit enter on the keyboard, and let's go to the next cell. And then I can of course go ahead and simply copy and paste the formulas over here, or use the autofill handle. It's copying and pasting, and it takes less effort. Just click in the cell and click and drag the black cross to the right. That was simple, as opposed to selecting a cell and then copying it. Come up here on the Home tab in the clipboard group, click on Copy, and then coming over here, clicking in that cell, coming back up here in the clipboard group and click Paste, and then hitting the Escape key to get the marching ants from marching here. Finally, you don't have to use other cells in order to perform a calculation. For example, if I come up here and click in the cell and I hit the equals key on the keyboard, and I want to be able to quickly add up some numbers instead of in my head, like let's see, what is 25 plus 9,001? Hit enter. 9,026. So I'm not using any other cells to give me the total here, but you can actually perform, just like a calculator, the calculations within a cell, but always start off with the equals key on the keyboard. Now, we didn't do multiplication or subtraction, so it's the same concept. Equals, let's say 85. The symbol for multiplying is the asterisk, and then go ahead and type in a number. 85 times 2 equals 170. And then also for subtraction equals, let's do 50. Hit the minus sign on the keyboard, and then let's do 25 and hit enter. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, as soon as I upload a new video, you'll be notified instantly, and you can do that by coming over here and clicking on my face. You can also click here to support me, so for $2 a month, you can have access to over 2,700 training videos, all ad-free, and for a few bucks more, you can have access to my exercises, instructor notes, quizzes, certificate of completion, and a whole lot more.